Hi there, it's Donovan, and welcome back to the special hour and, what episode? 30-something?
36.
It's high up there. 36.
Donovan, we do this every week, and every single time you forget which episode.
I'm having some dementia, and last week, happened. It happened, alright. Never mind that, I'm, as always, joined by my co-host, whose birthday we are celebrating today as of recording, Mr. Dean.
Yes, what's up everyone, it's Mr. Dean. I could not think of any better way to celebrate my birthday than to do the special hour, to be honest. Like some people might think, you know what, like time to get lit, you know, like I'm gonna go like rage out or something. But no, I'm here to talk shop with you guys. And notice how I said you guys plural, because today we're joined by another special guest. They were named after a fantastic, probably my favorite Mario or gaming character in general. We have Yoshiller.
Yes, hello humans, I'm Yoshiller. I am so honored to be here on episode 30-something of your podcast because I'm also 30-something. So that works out so well. And to be specific, I am named after the Yoshi that you get as a partner in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. So that game has some notable attachment to me.
Wait, was Yoshiller actually the name of that specific character?
It was in my game. So you can
okay, I was going to say
it. And I wanted to name it Killer, and I thought that was too cliche and boring, because I kind of merged the words like Yoshi and Killer. It's not Yoshi Killer.
Oh, this is some new lore I'm learning about.
Okay, that's an interesting.
I mean, if I may plug, I did a video about this on my channel. But no. So
I am definitely going to censor that in the final. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, years later, when I needed to come up with a username, I was like, I'll be Yoshiller, and that's what I've been ever since. And I'm glad, because I know some people try to do rebrands. They're not satisfied with their username that they came up when they were 10. And I'm glad.
Don't even get us started.
We've talked about this before. Both me and Donovan have some interesting usernames in the past.
Yoshiller, it might be a familiar name to those of us in the community. He's been around the block, but for those that do not know of your presence, who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, aren't I? But to give you a basic answer,
that's the big question.
To give you an answer that will fit within the confines of this podcast and allow your audience to familiarize themselves with me, I am primarily a video editor. I do a lot of work for my own YouTube channel, but I also edit for a lot of other bigger channels. I've done work with Arlo, I've done work with Ant Dude, Chuck Conroy, Source Gaming, I've done work with IGN, and I have done one-off videos for an abundance of other YouTube channels. And I specialize in gaming editorial type content, usually focused around Nintendo topics, but I've branched once or twice. But I'm primarily an editor, and I do a bunch of my own YouTube work as well. And when I'm not doing that, I'm archiving gameplay footage and giving it out to other creators so that they can edit their own videos.
Yeah, and whenever you're not doing any of that, I know you're uploading 21-hour-long videos to your YouTube channel.
I mean, that's not common yet. I'm trying to get more into the habit of that. But that does tie into what I like to do, which is I like to record games. And I especially enjoy gathering footage of niche and not well-documented features of games. And I've recently gotten to the habit of working on a series called Finally Completing, where I can record the entirety of a game, edit it down so it's, edit out the grindy, boring parts, and then repurpose the footage for editorials that I edit for my clients and stuff like that.
It'd be funny if you did make the 21-hour-long video thing like a daily ritual.
Well, that wouldn't be possible. Okay, the only way that would be possible to do daily is if I just streamed it and directly uploaded the VOD. But for the purposes of what I want,
it's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset.
When we first met, the stories that you were telling us, you are the hardest worker I've ever had the pleasure of meeting.
Very kind.
And I mean that as a compliment. You are such a hard worker. You never back down. I admire that. But we'll probably get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Your words are very kind. I'm glad someone noticed.
Donovan, we can't be skipping the pleasantries like this. We gotta.
Yes. As for now, what have you guys done over this past week?
Well, I'll tell you, I just came from the airport. That's why I was a couple minutes late to the
Did you have any crying babies on the plane or anything?
No, as a matter of fact, I lucked out on this flight. I actually had my row to myself, but that's not always the case.
Oh, perfect.
To kind of give a bit of a rundown, so I live in Seattle, Washington. I live in my own little apartment here, but I was born and raised in California. So when I need to have some medical work done, it's just easier for me to go to California, where I've got family that can monitor me and stuff. So I make quick trips to California, get some medical work done, and then I come back. So I try to optimize my work schedule around that, knowing that, okay, if I'm going to have to go to California for these 2 or 3 days, I can have these videos scheduled out in advance, or I can have
Just so hard working.
So I literally just came from the airport, then I'm doing this podcast with you guys, and then depending on how I'm feeling, I might edit a client's video after this. We'll see. But that's what I did this past week specifically, was I did medical stuff. So that is taken care of for now. And then in a month or two, I might have to do more stuff.
Donovan, what have you been up to this past week?
What have you been doing, my lovely podcast host? Yeah.
In celebrating the great holiday of St. Patrick's Day, I didn't even know St. Patrick's Day when I was out and about in the city. Did some shenanigans with some friends. What I can say is that my friends' insides are on Michigan Avenue as we speak. What else have I done? I went to this place called Punch Bowl Social downtown with a couple friends where they have a ton of stuff. Bowling, darts, pool.
Did they have a punch bowl?
Board.
Did they have a punch bowl?
Yes, punch bowl.
Okay, well, great, because that would be false advertising if you went to a place called Punch Bowl and they didn't have a punch bowl.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. We did bowling in real life, but that was for preparation. That was only to prepare ourselves for the real bowling with the Nintendo Switch Sports.
Oh, snap.
And so we did that late at night. That was pretty fun. So I'm on spring break right now, just enjoying life. Tomorrow, at the time of recording, I will be traveling down to Michigan, visiting the big university. I have a couple friends there, and we're just gonna have a good old time. 4-hour drive from Chicago. I've done it before. I can't wait to do it again. Now, Mr. Dean, I bet you had a pretty eventful day today.
Well, honestly, no. Like, I was just chilling, like, with my parents today. It wasn't like nothing, no crazy stories. If you were like getting
Nothing
all
crazy.
hyped up. Well, so yeah, last night I celebrated with my friends. We got Korean barbecue, which was pretty good.
Nice.
And then for today, whenever I was at my house with my mom, I was putting her on Kendrick Lamar. So that was pretty fun. we were listening to Pimp a Butterfly. So if anyone has not listened to that album, go fix that, because it's really good. So before we get into like the meat and potatoes of this episode, we do this thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Donovan. We apparently allegedly do this thing called Special Selects. It's basically, for anyone that doesn't know, just where we talk about what we've been playing over the past week. We can go in the same order that we just did. So, Yoshiller, have you been playing anything this past week? I know you were traveling, so
yeah. I mean, I've been wrapping up my Animal Crossing series. So I got the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition enhancement upgrade thing that came out for the game at the start of the year. And when Animal Crossing first launched in 2020, I made my foray into the series by doing daily content of the game every single day for a year. And then the version 2.0 came out, and I figured, all right, well, I guess I should go again. So I did that for another 70 days or something like that.
I go you're describing it like Nintendo is just has you, like, they just have you hostage. It's like,
I mean, a little bit.
I gotta do it again.
A little bit. With the ninjas behind you with the sword.
I should feel excited. It's just I have so many other things going on. But if I don't do this immediately, then who cares, right? Like, the point is to do this while it's hot, while my friends are playing. Because, now, especially, they've all moved on to Pokopia and stuff. So, version 3.0 comes out with the Switch 2 edition, and I figure, all right, let me go again. So that's, like, wrapped up now. That's all set. So, after I edit some videos for some clients, I'm looking into working on my next finally completing video, so I might go play an older retro game. Or I might play something, either Final Fantasy VII Remake, Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 Edition. I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles, or I've never played a Xenoblade game. Or I might do...
Whoa, cover your ears, Donovan.
I'm going to, is the point. And then I already bought it physically. And then I'm considering, this might just be a sentence that gets, lost in the wind. But there's that Capcom game that just came out. Is it called Pragmata? It's like
I've heard of
shooter
it.
game.
Well, I don't think it's out, but there's a demo.
Okay. It's like a shooter game, but you have to like solve a puzzle every time you want to take a shot.
Yes.
That's intriguing to me. I might actually pick that up. We'll see. So that's on my to-do list, but what have I actually been playing? It's mainly been Animal Crossing, and I'll take Kirby Air Riders breaks from time to time.
Donovan, what have you been playing, Donovan?
Yeah, what have you been playing, huh?
Some of this might overlap with Mr. Dean, but I have I have quite a few things to talk about. Firstly, Hades 2 Final Fantasy VII Remake. All right. That out of the way.
It's been like 8 episodes in a row, man. Like,
It's been like almost 2 months.
I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be my next 21-hour finally completing video. I am glad that more people are playing it, though.
You don't understand. I've been playing these games for like 2 months. Like ever since December. Yeah, I'm pacing myself between 2 games, and I'm trying to get to the end, but one of them is really long. One of them, it might be a skill issue.
Since you're an architecture student, I'll let it slide. I know you're busy.
Thank you. But other than those games, this might overlap with Mr. Dean, but for the first time, I got to experience game chat on Switch 2 with Mr. Dean.
Oh, yeah?
What an experience. Mr. Dean could not stop laughing at me because it felt like I was in like a Nintendo commercial. I had my brother's webcam, not the Switch 2 camera, like a shitty webcam. And it just isolated my face, and I looked so happy and joyful playing my game, sharing my screen of Hades 2. Game chat itself, it's just game chat. I mean, it works as expected. I guess the way to improve it would be messaging, but who cares? It's Nintendo. They don't even know how internet works. They got a bunch of monkeys probably operating the computers. But the reason why we did game chat is to use Game Share to play Pokopia. Now, Mr. Dean's been playing this probably for like 16 hours, last I saw on his profile. I wanted to experience the game in his world. I don't own it, so that's where Game Share came in. I did not get the greatest first impression.
The thing with Pokopia, what we learned is that whenever you game share it and they don't own the game, you're like confined to one specific part. It's like the one town that's not the main area. And we weren't aware of that beforehand. So it ended up like souring Donovan's first impression of the game. Like, Donovan, I need you.
Game by game basis, like what they do and don't let you do. Because it's modern day like DS download play, if you guys ever messed with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan, the game is peak, okay? It's a good game. I need you to. Okay.
I mean, I had some fun, watering the trees, making some grass greener. I was vibing a little bit. I'll just say Game Share, I think I've been pioneering this as a killer feature of the Switch 2. I love it, and I love the fact that you can Game Share over the internet. That is something Download Play could never do. It's pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. I've had friends doing that with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, and you just can play as your own characters and whatever. And I think that's super neat. I've used Game Chat. I've used it purely to record gameplay of it before it becomes lost media. And I want to say it functions well. For what it's setting out to do, it does accomplish it. I do also acknowledge that most people that get a Switch are most likely not going to use this feature. I understand Nintendo's vision, right? They want to capitalize on the fact that this is a portable system that you can set up in your house, and then you can connect with people around the world. And then Game Share is an extension of that. That's cool. Totally understand, though, that it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not something even I'm going to actively use. Though I do appreciate that it's there, right? So you can do stuff.
The problem is that they acted like they invented the concept of video calls when they should have made Game Chat all the way probably back in the Wii. And then I briefly touched about this. I was playing Nintendo Switch Sports again with some friends. Now we just had Nintendo Hero, and we were kind of dogging on the game. And yeah, I kind of dog on Switch Sports too, but there's just something about that core concept of motion-controlled sports that still really hits like crack. I am a champion at Chambara. I love it. My friends loved bowling. That's we were prepping for that, and we had a ton of fun. And we did tennis, and that was incredible. There's just something about it, even though there's a little bit of a lack of content compared to Sports Resort. It's probably a step up from Wii Sports Club, but maybe a downgrade from Resort. The sports mates look a little strange, though. To my friends, they didn't really care. They still made their own sports mates, even though Mii's were right there. I don't know, just a strange little perspective I have on the more casual gamer. And yeah, Switch Sports is pretty fun. And I know I've been going on for a little bit, but one last thing. This is not game related. Total switch up. I watched Seven, murder mystery film. Really dark. If you don't know what that is, it's where the "what's in the box" thing came from. Really cool movie. Highly recommend. Mr. Dean.
Yes.
Can you talk?
Donovan, I am able to talk. Thank you. So, I've been playing Pocopia this past week. I'm going to wait to fully dive into my thoughts on it for a future episode. But so far I like it, and I've already been the one glazing the game on the podcast. So, I mean, I'm sure that's not anything new for people to hear. Other than that, I've been going all the way back through Super Mario 3D World to get footage. So, funny story about this, Donovan remembers this because I was in a call with Donovan the other day, and for some reason, I was under the impression that in order to unlock Champions Road, you had to hit the top of every flagpole with every character.
Not for Champions Road. That's just to get 5 stars. Yeah.
Right. So I learned that after. So I probably spent 5 hours going through every world, just slowly going through every level. And I was like, dude, Donovan, like, I forgot about how bad it is trying to unlock Champions Road. And he was like, what are you, and he was like, what are you talking about?
I was like, I don't remember going back as Rosalina to like World 2 or something.
Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about?
I would scream if I had to do that.
So yeah, I accidentally just like wasted a bunch of my time, but like, dude, like it's still fun. I still like the game. Champions Road, I did end up beating a level, so that's hype. So yeah, I mean, other than that.
Wait. You told me in the call that you have some things to complain about other than the flagpole thing, or maybe that was the one thing to complain about.
I probably do, but once again, I'll wait to do that. I don't want to spend like half the episode just like ranting, but we can always do that on a normal episode. Okay, so yeah, like we were touching on earlier whenever we introduced Yoshiller, so you've worked with a lot of different people, and I think you're the first person we've had on that's like primarily a freelance worker in terms of editing.
Yeah, that's kind of what it turned into.
Yeah, obviously you do your own content, but you do a lot of stuff for other people too. So I was wondering like what kind of brought you into doing that versus, focusing solely on like trying to work on your own craft.
Yeah, so I don't think people know how long I've actually been around making videos in general. My original YouTube channel was made in 2006. Long before the idea.
Brother,
back when videos.
Wait, what month?
I already know the month.
Wait, yeah, was Donovan alive?
Was I even alive?
Was Donovan alive?
The idea was that like this is long before the days of getting paid for YouTube videos. Videos couldn't be more than 11 minutes, and I was making my videos in Windows Movie Maker. And what I was doing was I was making AMVs based on an online web series called Super Mario Bros. Z. I taught myself to use Windows Movie Maker, and at the time, compared to the other, shoddy AMVs that were existing around this time because we were all learning how to make videos, I like to think I was okay at making AMVs.
I'm better than
that. And that got me into the habit of wanting to do more than just make AMVs, right? Eventually, what wound up happening was I wanted to be able to record games because back during this time, while YouTube was still growing, the idea of capturing direct feed gameplay was practically non-existent. And if it was, quality wasn't great. So most people were usually doing the old pointing your video camera at a television screen shtick, right? And everyone was playing the same games. Everyone was playing the same games. Everyone was playing Mario Kart Wii. Everyone was playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Everyone was playing Super Mario Galaxy. And then, for handheld games, everyone was playing Pokemon or whatever, right? And I saw that there were some people that were able to do direct capture gameplay, and I didn't get it. And I remember I would go to Best Buy and I would say, hi, I would like to hook up my GameCube to my laptop. And they wouldn't even know where to begin starting to answer that question to a 10-year-old.
Could I ask, what was the Nintendo Sphere like back in the day on YouTube?
Well,
I'm so curious now.
I don't want to say it was non-existent, but the idea of influencers was like a foreign concept. It was a matter of you went on YouTube to make yourself laugh, pass the time a little bit, and you kind of just went on YouTube when there wasn't anything on TV to watch.
Yeah, this was in the days of Hey, it's Fred.
This is the days of Hey, it's Fred. The big gaming YouTuber at the time was Angry Video Game Nerd. So nowadays it's backwards. Nowadays it's all about chasing trends and seeing what's popular, right? The Angry Video Game Nerd became popular because he was the only person doing what he was doing. He was reviewing games that people had never heard of. right?
I think he was actually the first person to ever upload a custom thumbnail to YouTube, I think.
He might have been among the first.
Yeah, maybe he was one of them.
And also at that time, you know, you had other designated websites that focused on gaming content too. So I know like Game Trailers was a prime example because Game Trailers hosted Screw Attack, and with Screw Attack, that's where you got Angry Video Game Nerd and Top 10s and stuff like that. Fast forwarding a bit, one day I discovered that my video camera had direct capture capabilities, that I could plug the cables that came out of my console into my video camera. And then I learned what splitters were, and from there, I was able to start recording my gameplay directly. And my whole world opened up, right? I had an advantage. I figured out how to do stuff that most of the world hadn't yet figured out. At the time, Elgato capture devices weren't a thing. If you wanted a capture card, you had to buy something called a Dazzle. And
I remember those.
Yeah, and there were some other ones. Like
These are words I have not heard.
That's
wow.
okay. There were other ones. Like I had an Adaptec Game Bridge. And then eventually, if you wanted to record in HD, you could get a Hapag. And nowadays, it's a lot more streamlined with Elgato. And I promise I'm getting to the answer of your question. What got me to freelance? Well, in recording gameplay videos, eventually I got more comfortable recording my voice. Even though I sounded really high-pitched and I definitely sounded like a middle schooler, I was recording my voice and I was always trying to experiment with different things, and I was trying to do things that other people weren't doing. And that got my face on the map because I was one of the first people to record co-op gameplay of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. And we fast forward beyond that, and eventually, now we're at a point where there's a bunch of gaming creators, there's a bunch of different reviewers and influencers and all sorts of different people that are occupying the Nintendo space, and they're much bigger than me. They're much more popular than me. They know what they want to do, and I figure if I can't beat them, maybe I should try to join them. So. In 2016, using my knowledge of editing and gameplay capture that I'd gathered at the time, I became an eligible candidate to start editing for The Completionist, who was a big gaming YouTuber who would review games, but rather than just doing a simple review, he would discuss whether a game was worth completing. So that meant that every game he played, he had to play it to 100% completion, capture footage of the entire game, or at least, you know, the bulk of it, and then make a review video out of it. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then in 2020, we parted ways. Pretty mutual, no falling out or anything like that. And I kind of just fell into freelance after that. So in working for The Completionist, I was going to an office every day, and it was treated as a job. I went there Monday through Friday. Sometimes I would carpool. Sometimes we'd stay late to finish the video, or we'd have company outings or whatever, right? And different creators shared the office space with us. And after I stopped working for Completionist, that was right around when the pandemic happened, so we were all inside, and I fell into working for Arlo, which is a separate story that I can tell if you want. And after working for Arlo, I started working for, I still work for Arlo, but I started working for Source Gaming, and my portfolio just kind of grew and grew and grew. And in editing for more people knew who I was and wanted me as their editor. So nowadays, like my biggest client and one of my most recent clients is IGN, the very same IGN that would do, game reviews and just upload trailers and all that all those years back, before direct gameplay capture was really a common practice, right?
Yeah, IGN was like, they weren't posting videos before YouTube, but they were reviewing games like a while before YouTube formed.
Right, and even when YouTube first formed, like, they were pretty quick to the draw of capitalizing on showing videos of games, showing previews, E3 back in 2004 and stuff like that, right? So now I get to work for them, because my knowledge of capturing gameplay from the past has now come full circle up to now, and in me editing for people such as The Completionist and Arlo and Ant Dude and Source Gaming, whatever, I am now a prime fit to work on their guides and walkthroughs team. So I get to do that now. I kind of just fell into freelancing in an effort to just try and do more stuff and try to do these different types of videos. So I went from AMVs to capturing gameplay to editing editorials to now editing guides back again, right? So I know it's a long-winded answer. I know you didn't really ask for my whole history.
It's fascinating.
But that's how I fell into freelance. When I was young, I was making AMVs. I wasn't like, I want to edit for other creators. It just turned out to be something that I was good at. I had the knowledge to do it, so that's just what I do now.
And do you think that over time, the more and more you've done freelance, it's kind of become just as fulfilling as making your own content, just maybe in a different way?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I do, and I'm glad you asked that, because in editing for The Completionist and editing for Arlo and IGN and all of them, there are different tricks of the trade that I picked up, and I've learned how they do their processes that helps me streamline my processes and helps me become more optimized with my stuff. So an example is The Completionist. When he would capture footage, all of his file names would typically be, let's say he's playing Pokemon. Pokemon's an easy example. Let's say he's playing Pokemon Fire Red. Okay, so first file is Fire Red 1, Charmander starter, caught Pidgey, rival battle, gym battle 1, stopped at Mount Moon. Anything that I could possibly need in that file is in the title. So now, when I capture my own footage, I do the same thing. And when I first worked for Gerard, we each had our own designated external hard drive, and that's how we would edit all of our stuff, because we needed hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes worth of footage to be able to edit some of these videos. And eventually we shifted to Google Drive. And being able to work off of a cloud and share files off of Google Drive, now I'm more comfortable with that. And then in editing for Arlo has a very optimized way of getting his videos done. Other clients I edit for, like I have to edit their audio, which is fine. Arlo does a thing where when he records his voiceover and he does a take, when he finally gets a take that he likes, he'll snap or clap 3 times into the microphone. So that way, just by looking at the audio waves, I know that's the take to use. So it allows me to just fly through editing his videos. And then in working for IGN, I've grown comfortable creating and using motion graphics. And there are just things that I picked up from each client I've worked for that has allowed me to streamline not just the process of editing for other clients, but has allowed me to make my videos look more professional and has allowed me to pump them out more quickly as well. And what I might learn from a client may apply to another client. But also, you were asking about fulfillment, and there are times when I might not be satisfied with the work that I do for my own channel, because my own channel is mainly just gameplay, but I get to repurpose that gameplay for my clients. So no matter what, editing for the people that I get to edit for allows me to find like greater fulfillment, greater purpose in recording everything and editing everything. It makes it so that the stuff I'm doing doesn't feel wasteful. That no matter what, I'm learning something.
Well, and whenever I said fulfillment, I was more so wondering if it comes from a sense of like you're actively a vital element of someone else achieving their goal. So It's like you're, but I feel like that could also, but the reason why I'm curious about that is because it could work both ways. It could be like, yeah, they couldn't do what they're actively doing without, someone filling my role actively. But I could also see it going the other way where it's like, well, I wish I was, doing my own stuff. So
I see what you mean. Yeah, I can follow up on that. So there are definitely times where, of course, I'm jealous, right? I can say, how come you get to talk about this game and you get 100,000 views? Oh, but if I talk about it, I only get like 100, right? No, of course I'm jealous. But I'm also extremely grateful that I get to edit for some cool people, dude. I am so glad that I get to edit for the people that I get to edit for. I am so glad that I get to not only edit for these select clients, but that my work gets noticed by the fans. I'm glad that people can know me as Arlo's editor or Nathaniel Bandy's editor or as the guy that does work with Source Gaming and IGN. That is so cool to me. And of course, there are times when I wish I could focus on my own stuff. With that said, there is kind of this like hamster wheel type of deal where in editing for other people, I am hopeful that draws traffic back to me, to my own channel, so I can work on my stuff for a bit. And then in working on my own stuff for a bit, maybe I'm like, oh, my stuff doesn't really feel that impressive. I don't really feel like my portfolio is growing. And then I can go back and edit for a client again, right? So it kind of goes in this circle. And there are definitely times in the past where I've had to sacrifice some of my own projects to edit for my clients. That just happens. And I do wish that I got some of the opportunities that they get to do. And you know what, though? I've also been able to do a lot of cool stuff that a lot of people also haven't been able to do. And I have to keep telling myself that even if I wasn't working for these people, that's just always how it's going to be. That they're going to do stuff that I'm not going to get to do. And I'm going to do stuff that they're not going to get to do. And there are definitely these waves of jealousy, but it's never to a point of me wanting to like take anything away from people, It's never to a point where I feel invalidated, because I guess the other angle is there's this fear that I always live by, which is There is nothing that I do that someone else can't do. There is nothing I do that cannot be learned by someone else. I was not born with superhuman abilities, you know. Everything I do, I've learned. And I got these positions because the people that selected me felt as though I was qualified for the job. And that's very validating. And knowing that I can be replaced at any time is scary.
But it keeps you motivated.
Yes. It also makes me strive to keep furthering myself. And I remind myself, like, there is a reason they chose me, therefore I must be doing something correctly.
I guess there's a positive way to look at it. All your clients, their success partly can be attributed to you. You are the one that is putting in the work and helping these clients reach these amazing goals. So in a way, you share a part of that success yourself.
That is true. Let me be clear that a lot of these clients grew more popular than me because of their own merit, their own dedication, and their own skill, right? There is nothing that says that their success was earned purely through my effort, right? These people became successful. They're trying to become more successful. Therefore, they brought me on because they believe I could help with that. There, at no point would they be unsuccessful if I wasn't working for them. I am just glad to be able to help them in their success.
I guess another way of rephrasing kind of what I was wondering is whenever you first got into freelance, I'm sure a majority of the reason you were getting into it was to build your portfolio, which you already kind of mentioned the word portfolio multiple times. And I'm sure, like, as you're still doing work for other people, that's obviously still an element of it. Like adding more proof of work that you've done in the past, but has the pendulum shifted a little bit from like to another element being, kind of that satisfaction you get from helping other people alongside, also just building the list of the projects you've worked on and just connections you have or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely times when I've helped my clients out of a bind, had to get them a project down to the wire, and I take that in stride, right? There are definitely times when I've worked for the completionist and we were all staying up late trying to get a video out ready for Friday, and we stayed up through the nights, and while those were many unhealthy nights, they were among my favorites, Us staying up late to the point where everything becomes funny and we're all just super exhausted and we both like simultaneously hate life but just kind of love living in the moment. That's happened a lot. I've done some all-nighters working for some other clients, and I don't say these things to make it seem like they treat me poorly. I sadistically kind of enjoy this stuff. I like doing the challenge to say, I want you to be able to rely on me. I want you to know that when you ask me to do something, I'm going to do it. Which is something that Gerard the Completionist once said about me. I think like Norm the Gaming Historian was in town, and they were talking, and I was like helping get some footage of something in Splatoon, of all things. Norm was like, "Oh, you should try doing this," and Gerard was like, "You got to be careful with Bradley because if you don't ask him to do something," and Norm
because he will do it.
Yeah, because Gerard's like, he'll do it. So I took that in stride. And yeah, there were definitely some times where I might have a client that says, "Hey, I really got to get a video out by Friday." And I have to because there's a brand deal in front of it and they need the video out by Friday. How doable is that? And I'll say, well, insert client name here. If you want a video out by Friday, then you're getting a video out by Friday.
You came to the right man.
Yeah. And that's the type of ethos that I want to have. That's how I want people to know me, is to be like, Yoshiller's the guy. Yoshiller will do it. You know who's crazy to do it? Yoshiller. Like that's what I like having associated with me. I like knowing that they do enjoy the value that I bring to their work.
Right. So obviously you've discovered by this point that editing is your main passion whenever it comes to video production, right? Or are there other elements of it that you also enjoy?
It's mainly the video editing, because one of the reasons I kind of fell back on video editing was because I always enjoyed it as an after school activity. And then as time went on and I wanted to learn how to make games, I always wanted to be actively involved in the gaming industry. Games were and always have been so inspiring to me, and I always enjoyed the process of creating games. Yet I don't like programming. I much prefer a more visual side of things. So level designing, character designing, storytelling. I like all of that, but the actual programming, it bums me out. And I should like
here.
Programming, because I like seeing how my actions can make something happen, right? And I get a more direct feedback of that with video editing, where I do something and in the moment I'm seeing it visually represented. So I fell back on the video editing in that way because I realized, well, if I can't make a game on my own, I can at least explain why I like them so much in video form. So I enjoy video editing because it allows me to learn tricks, and then I'm definitely the type of guy where I'll learn a way of presenting things visually. I'll learn a new trick, and then I'll use it in all of my clients' work for a couple months until I learn the next trick, and then that cycle just kind of repeats, right? It's like learning, I don't know, it's like learning a new move, a new attack in an RPG, and then you learn like the upgraded version of that attack.
Yeah, you're just obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just gonna use this from now. This is my win button, and then eventually you learn a new attack, and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna do this now. So.
Yeah.
But I like video editing because it's visual, and I like seeing how I can make things look and how I can convey ideas visually.
Right. Well, and so the reason why I was curious is because I'm sure that there are, maybe it's just one person watching this, or maybe multiple people, I don't know. But, there's always people that are actively trying to figure out what it is that they're trying to, get into as a hobby. It could be people of any age, or whatever it is, and whether they're looking to get into it just as a hobby for fun or trying to figure out what they're trying to do career-wise. So I was wondering if there was anything that you learned from those early days about figuring out, or how you figured out that editing was what you enjoyed most doing, and then taking those first steps in actually learning it, beyond just the basics.
Well, I stated earlier that I started with Windows Movie Maker, and I used that purely because it was free. And it being a free video editing software means that it is very, very limiting. For example, if you wanted to rotate an image, you can only rotate it in intervals of 90 degrees. So if you wanted something to go in a diagonal, sucks to be you, right?
Brutal.
And you couldn't make clips go in reverse or anything like that. But I made it work, and I taught myself how to the basics of animation using Microsoft PowerPoint. I would make the slides in a PowerPoint presentation move quickly. Yeah, I would animate like sprites and stick figures and stuff, and I would make the slides move so quickly that it would be the equivalent of you flipping through pieces of paper and making it look like it was moving. I fell into video editing purely because it was free software on my computer, and I wanted an after-school activity that was gaming adjacent. So I did not know during my younger years that I would become this type of freelance editor as I got older. What I did know was that ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to work at Nintendo. That was my childhood dream, and to this day, as an adult in his 30s, I am still chasing that dream. And as I got older, I learned that video editing is a beneficial skill to have, and that there are jobs at Nintendo where you can be a video editor. And I was like, really? Well, I want to do that. So naturally, I gained an interest in building my portfolio as a result. And if you're telling me, like, do I have advice to people that also want to become video editors? I don't know if there's anything I can say that's already that isn't like cliche, that hasn't already been said.
Oh, well, I didn't mean specifically for people wanting to be editors. I just meant in general. Like maybe let's just say someone finds out, oh, I love writing. Is there anything that you think could be applied to just figuring out what it is that you're into?
Yeah, I mean, I'm into a lot of different things. All right, I love writing. I love playing all sorts of different games. I love editing. I like doing, I like doing improv. I do a lot of different stuff. And while a lot of people might say for you to hone in on your craft, instead of being the jack of all trades, become the master of one, and I don't disagree with that logic, I don't think it's inherently bad to try a bunch of things and see which thing you like the most, right?
To be like well-rounded also.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want to use Pokemon as an example again, I don't know how many of you guys play competitive Pokemon.
Definitely not me.
No? Okay. No. I'll try and explain this as simplistically as I can. So early on, ever since the beginning, there was a Pokemon named Mew. Mew is a Pokemon who has base 100 in every single one of its stats, therefore making it well-rounded. But what Mew has specialized in across each generation has effectively changed as more Pokemon have gotten added to each game. So in the beginning, it was good as just an offensive attacker because it was a psychic type, and psychic types were super powerful in the first generation. Then, as later generations went on, people found that it was a good utility Pokemon. It could set up stealth rocks, it could baton pass stuff, it could set status inflictions, it could be a wall if it wanted to, it could be a sweeper if it wanted to. Then, as time continued to go on, you want more specialized Pokemon, so Mew kind of fell to the wayside. Does that mean Mew is bad? No. It just means people favored specialized Pokemon. That doesn't change the fact that Mew had a fantastic history up to this point, and could still have its uses on a modern day team. It just means that people are going to prefer to optimize their teams around something that's more specialized. So that's
really
kind of my
analogy.
view. My view of it is eventually you'll need to choose a career path. It is okay if you do not choose the correct career path the first time. You think Vue was always a bulky wall? I mean, maybe in the first generation it might have been, but it was not always this bulky wall. It was not always a sweeper. Mu was whatever the player wanted it to be. And that depended on what type of battle you were doing. So if you wanted to be a video editor since you were young, great. If you didn't know you wanted to be a video editor until you were in your 20s, great. Join the club. I didn't know I wanted to do video editing for the rest of my life. It was just a side hobby that I was ahead of the curve on because being paid to be an editor on YouTube was not as common of a practice as it is now. And now I'm very lucky enough to have been in the game long enough to where I can specialize in that type of topic, that type of subject. So my advice to people is that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, and it's okay to figure it out later.
I have a it's slightly a bit personal just to me. So I'm an architect. I'm an architecture major, but recently of last year, I've been interested in trying to get into the freelance space of video editing, and you answered parts of this question already, but for someone like me, I have a long history of video editing. I've also made films, but I've never done anything professional. How would someone like me break into the freelance space? I've been wondering, could I put my video editing skills to work and maybe have a little side hustle other than my actual major, which is architecture?
Yeah, so I'll say right now, video editing is, although I want it to be my career, it basically is my side hustle too. I work a retail job right now. I go home and I edit videos, and that's my side hustle. And I happen to be pretty good at it. It is unfortunately not what I do full time at the moment, and that's fine. I've found happiness trying to balance everything. So to answer your question, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yes. Or I don't mind.
You don't. I
I do mind.
What got you guys into podcasting? You just wanted to do it as a side hustle? You just wanted to get to know people? What's that?
I think we just really love. Well, for one, we had a great dynamic, and we just ended up being having great conversations. And I think for me, and it probably applies to Mr. Dean as well, we just like talking about things that we are passionate about. And for that, specifically here, mostly about the gaming industry and Nintendo. And we just really wanted to share what we loved with the world. And I think that's how both of us got into podcasting. Mr. Dean is the one that spearheaded this specific podcast.
Well, that's cool. And Mr. Dean, what made you want to get into podcasting? What was your whole shtick?
Well, my answer's similar to Donovan's. I think for me it runs very deep because about this is some background info, because I don't think I ever mentioned this on the podcast before, just off air. But about 10 or so years ago, there was a podcast called the Digicast, which was run by Nathaniel Bandy, Indy Jacob, and Scott Lee. And back then I was probably 13 years old. So I at the time knew nothing about what went into podcasting or anything like that. And although the Digicast is very different, not very different, there are definitely a lot of similarities between the format of how they do it with how we do it, but there are also a lot of differences if you listen to their show and then listen to ours. Anyway, though, I remember listening to that as a kid, and it always made me love the idea of having candid conversations about, whatever, like Donovan said, whatever it is that you're passionate in. In our case, it happens to be gaming, but something I'm also really passionate in. And the reason why I love having guests on, such as yourself, is I think there's a lot of value in having an open mind in conversation and learning from another person's perspective, whether it's as simple as just having someone on to talk about the latest game that just came out and just talking about your opinions on it, or what we're doing today, where it's much more of a, meta discussion about what goes into content creation and editing and all that kind of stuff. I just think that there's a lot to learn from that, but more importantly, it's a vessel to hopefully be able to help people listening who maybe haven't heard these kind of things thrown around before. So hopefully if we can have a positive impact on even just one person listening, then, that's the biggest reason that why I personally was so, fascinated with the idea of doing a podcast.
Oh, for sure. So to answer the question then, about like, do I think you have a shot? I mean, the short answer is yes, I do. Because the important thing is to acknowledge why you want to make videos. And to be clear, there's not a wrong answer. I know people might want to immediately shame anyone who says, oh, I want to do it just to make money. Okay. Most people want to do things to try and make money. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think what's important is just knowing like what your end goal is and why you want to do it. So of course I think you have a shot. The problem is in today's glorious age of social media, the best and worst part about it is that everyone has a voice. So how do you make your voice heard among everyone else, right? It would be hypocritical of me to discourage anybody from pursuing their passion in an online space. And if anything, I am very happy to see that there are people that want to pursue their desires and express themselves and find joy in talking to others. I think that is a beautiful thing. So here's the part where I say, however, it is because everyone is doing that, it is now tougher than ever before to do that. So if we were to have winded the clock back 10 years ago, I would probably be a bit more encouraging. It's just so tricky now because everyone is doing it. I don't want to discourage anybody by no means. I want people to do cool stuff. I want people to go and make a video because I'm so tired of people saying, oh, I wish I could do this. And I just want to say, then go freaking do it. You know how often I just go do that stuff? I get it. I'm in a luxurious, privileged position where I get to do a lot of cool stuff. I got to this point by taking some leaps of faith. I'm not saying take every leap of faith. You don't gotta, be an adrenaline junkie. Unless that's what you want to be, then, it'd be hypocritical of me to stop you. What I am saying is it is okay to try something and see if it works. There are so many things that I do just because I'm curious. And if you're curious to see if you can make it as a creator, I'm all in support of it. And, maybe some other people would encourage you to be like, well, who's to say you can't blend your passion for architecture and your passion for video game creation? Maybe you can make something cool in Pocopia or something. I don't know. Maybe you could do YouTube shorts about architecture. Like, you're going to have people that encourage that. What I'm going to tell you is to simply give it a shot, do it as a side hobby, and if it picks up, awesome. Unfortunately, we can't all be successful because if we're all successful, then nobody is, right? Kind of paraphrasing Syndrome a bit here. The words remain true that in order for someone to be successful, you have to be above the rest. And what that road looks like, I couldn't tell you because if I had the answers, I'd be a lot more successful myself. So I'm in support. I think anyone can. And I think the most important thing is just to know why you're doing it. And if the answer is to make money, that's fine. If the answer is to connect with people, that's fine. If the answer is just to have a side hustle and to express yourself, that's all fine. Just know why you're doing it.
Is it okay if I add my own personal 2 cents into this?
Of course. One, it's your podcast, but two, I actually do want to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
That would be really funny if you were just like, no.
Yeah, I would like to move on from the question, please. I think we've talked about it.
No, there's a lot that you said in your answer that was making me be like, yes. Because first of all, one thing Yoshiller said that I completely agree with is too many people say, like, oh no, I want to try, like we're talking about content creation. It could be about anything. I want to do this, but I don't know where to start. And I've had people come up to me before and ask me, like I've always thought about, trying to make my own videos, but I just feel like they're going to suck. And I literally am like, they probably will. And that's fine.
Yeah, dude. I started making AMVs.
Yes, I wish I gotta say I wish because I definitely could if I wanted. I could show people watching this what my first ever videos looked like. They were not good compared to where I'm at now. And the lovely part, and it's really like a beautiful thing. Literally any of your favorite YouTubers, anyone that you watch, their first ever thing that they ever edited, they ever narrated, they ever wrote, is so much worse than it is now. And that's a great thing. And I think it's realizing that, and it adds a sense of freedom to whenever you, it could be like, let's just say you're trying to get into cooking and you're like, but the first time I cook something, if I'm trying to cook pasta, it's going to taste bad. And it's like, yeah, that's why you cook it, you mess up, you learn from it, and you rinse it.
And what if it doesn't? What if it tastes great?
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't know because you never tried. Yeah. So that's where it also goes into a whole thing too, where in my opinion, once again, Donovan, you don't have to listen to me at the end of the day, make your own decision. But after hearing everything that was just said, I think that just knowing that you tried, and even if you did end up failing, which, you know, like, I know you, I don't think that you would fail, but even if you did, you know, I feel like it's one of those things where you would rather, you'd rather regret trying something and failing than 10 years from now be like, man, what if I did try editing? Like, that could have been cool. You know, I would personally, I would hate that. That would drive me crazy. Some people, maybe not. But the alternative would be, you know, 10 years from now, like, damn, like, that sucks that didn't work out. But, you know, at least I tried, and now we have closure.
Yeah, I mean, are you just going to keep thinking about it? You may as well try it, right?
Well, and the reason why I'm treading lightly on this is because it's so much easier for both me and Yoshiller to be like, oh, no, dude, just do it. And, like, that way you won't regret it, because at the end of the day, you know, I know how busy being an architecture student is. I know it's not easy, you know, doing content on it. Like, the fact that you're doing your own channel and the podcast and school is already baffling to me in the first place. So yeah, like, I know it's an undertaking. It's a lot of work, but that's just my own personal, like, 2 cents.
I'm like wondering if I go into freelance. I've already been thinking about it. How do you even get a footing in there in the first place when you're essentially just a nobody?
Yeah, you just want to edit for other people mainly. I got really lucky, okay? Because as I told you in the beginning, my videos started out just by me discovering that I could record direct capture, right? And I kind of fell into freelance. I got very, very lucky. So when I started working for Gerard, that was already a pretty big thing to have on my resume. We're talking about editing for a channel that has over 1 million subscribers, who's worked with many different companies.
And then you're able to network.
Yeah, and then from there I was able to snowball. So to get into how I started working for Arlo, I guess this is kind of the answer, is to just know a lot of people, right? So I went to PAX East 2020, and we had this dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and there were probably 20 of us creators. So we had to sit at 2 of those large circular tables that you could spin around if you wanted to. And some of us were like taking turns sitting at each other's tables. And it was around this time, this is February of 2020. So this is before the pandemic had kicked in. And I was already kind of in talks with Gerard, talking about how, like, maybe I don't want to work for the completionist anymore, because what's going to be my future? Am I just going to become the completionist? Like, that's not going to happen. You're the completionist, right? This is your channel. I remember Arlo was one of the people at the table, and I said something to the effect of, like, hey, would you guys think less of me if I didn't work on the completionist anymore? And they're like, of course not. Like, we knew you before you started working on the completionist. Can we ask why? And I would just kind of elaborate. I think Arlo then said something to the effect of, so are you looking for work? And I said, oh, well, I mean, let me get back to you on that. And then he followed up a couple months later. Because Arlo already has a main editor. His main editor is Kane. But whenever Kane is overwhelmed with work, like he's already doing a big 2-hour video for Arlo or something, well, then Arlo will recruit me. He'll contact the Yosh, right? That's kind of how it started. And then he saw that I had these fast turnaround times, and I kind of proved myself that I got to keep editing for him. And that's been a great working relationship. And then in working for Completionist and Arlo, that's kind of how I fell into later on editing for AntDude and Nathaniel Bandy and all sorts of stuff. And it just kind of keeps snowballing from there. So the hardest part is absolutely getting started. And I got real lucky. Now, as a reminder, even before working for Gerard, even before working on The Completionist, I was still my own guy. And I got lucky on which of my videos like popped off and stuff too. The biggest thing that I had going for me was purely the fact that I had been doing my own videos for a couple years up to that point. So I was able to prove that I knew how to capture footage, I knew how to edit editorials, I knew timing and stuff. So I guess the ultimate answer is you'll need 1 or 2 videos of your own to kind of show your skills. And I'm not saying like add a bunch of effects on the screen to show that you know how to use effects. I'm just saying do a video or 2 that at least demonstrates your knowledge of constructing a video essay or finding the right clips to go with what you're talking about, or something to that effect to show that you know your way around an editing program. And that way, if an editor if a client contacts you to be their editor, you can comfortably say, yes, I can do that. And you know, there are times when
get some example videos. Well, maybe just make a video portfolio. I guess.
Yeah, and there are definitely times where I am forced to do something new. That is the nature of the job. And it's up to me to tell them immediately if I can't do it, right? Ideally, that situation never comes. I just learned the skill, right? Sometimes, this is probably awful advice. I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes you got to pull a Goofy movie. Have you seen a Goofy movie?
I've not.
All right, fantastic movie. Strongly recommend it. It's a much better movie than many people might think it is at first glance. The plot of the movie involves Goofy's son Max telling a girl that he likes that he's going to be in this concert, right? Really, he's not involved in the concert at all. And then he kind of has to go and make the lie true. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, and that does mean you got to make it at the end. So that way it never looked faked to begin with. There are definitely times when I worked for one or two people, or I was like trying to work for one or two people, and they said, "Hey, so do you have a website?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I got a website."
And then you just immediately go and make a website?
That night, I had to learn how to make a website. And that's exactly what happened. So that by the time tomorrow came and we did an interview or something, I had a website ready to go. And it's less than ideal. Sometimes you gotta just force yourself to go through situations like that. The Yoshiller logic is do enough stupid stuff so that when something stupid happens, you're like, oh, I got this. And that's applicable outside of video editing. I'm just saying, to really get to the point of my answer, you need to do one or two things that you haven't done before, so that way you have stuff that you can show to a client, and the client can be like, oh, okay, you know how to do this then.
This is a very fruitful conversation.
Yeah. And Donovan, and just to even further corroborate what Yoshiller is saying, whenever I previously did some editing work for Skip the Tutorial, I literally got that because of a connection.
It's a domino effect. You find one person who leads you to the next, who leads you to the next. And as I said earlier, I still believe this. There is nothing that I do that someone else cannot do. I might have years of experience ahead of me. Everything I do, like, I could easily break it down in a project file and be like, oh, all I did was this. I know some tricks and some shortcuts. There is no magic power that I have. Just a lot of endurance and a good music playlist.
Dude, what's crazy?
Thank you.
We went on so long, like that.
Sorry.
No. That's a good thing. Like I like time just like flew by. Yeah, I was originally planning on hitting more about the work ethic, but I honestly feel like that was already kind of answered with a lot of the other things that you talked about.
Hey, I can stay for as long as you want and answer whatever you want. I am more than willing to talk about myself.
Well, okay, how about, just for a few minutes, if you want, do you want to touch on the work ethic part? Because Donovan was also hinting at that at the beginning. And
how do you balance? You have IGN, you have Arlo, AntDude. How do you manage all of these different creators? How do you even sort these video files? How do you make time for yourself to eat, to sleep? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I optimize, right? So if I'm going to eat or I'm going to sleep, I optimize that around like when a video is exporting or uploading. So if I know a video is going to take an hour or two to export, I can be like, oh, okay, I can eat now. I don't want any of my time to be wasted. But I guess to actually kind of take a step back and really assess my situation. So my regular day-to-day consists of me, I'll get up, I'll walk 2 miles to work. I'll work for 8.5 hours a day, sometimes longer if they ask me to stay longer. And then I go home and then I edit. And sometimes I edit through the night and then I just go back to work the following day and do it all again. Sometimes it does happen. Ideally, I don't work through the night, and ideally I get an ample amount of work done each night so I can continue the process into the next day. And on my days off, I don't work 7 days a week, or at least I'm not supposed to. I've had a streak of 12 days in a row once. On my days off though, I edit because that's what brings me joy. So it does mean that my work-life balance doesn't allow for much. Like if I want to hang out with friends, that's me playing games with them online. Or I'll go to a convention or something, but usually I'm at home and I'm editing. And if I got to go grocery shopping, I got to optimize that around my editing. If I want to, go see a movie, something I haven't done recently, but I want to go see more movies, I have to do that around my editing, right? Editing is my free time. In terms of which client I choose to work for, a lot of them aren't consistent work, and that's kind of the downfall of freelance. So I get paid by the gig, meaning if there's no video that any of my clients want me to work on, then I gotta find something else to do, and that's why I'll edit my own stuff. Thankfully, between AntDude and Arlo and IGN and whatever, there's usually consistent work. IGN is usually a per game basis, so they just had me do some videos for Pokopia. Prior to that, I did a couple of videos for Animal Crossing. And then prior to that, I did some videos for Pokemon Legends ZA. But between those games, I wasn't editing for them every week or anything like that. And usually their videos are pretty quick, pretty short, so I know I can finish them in one night's time. If I'm doing something for Arlo and he doesn't want like a big video that's down to the wire or whatever, yeah, that could take me a couple of days, and I just kind of have to feel where I'm at, like how much did I get done tonight? Do I feel like I could reasonably finish this up tomorrow? That type of thing. Dude's a bit more reliable because he's more on a monthly basis and he'll tell me ahead of time, this is the next video I would like to do. Depending on when clients need their videos, then I just prioritize those, right? So if IGN needs a video by tomorrow, they're going to go first. If Arlo needs his video by this Friday, he'll go next. If Dude's like, okay, well, as long as it's done by the end of the month, he might kind of fall on the back burner, but if all the other clients are done, he's what I prioritize next, right? And if I get it done sooner than he expects, even better. And I enjoy having a full plate. I don't like having an empty plate. Like, I have this dry erase board on my desk, and I tell myself, this should never be empty. Whether it's between my own ideas or my client's work, I should always have an idea on this dry erase board, because that way I know what I'm working on when I get home. And it kind of drives me while I'm at work, like knowing that I get to go home and I get to work on this cool stuff. Like, I look forward to it. I'm thinking about videos on that work. I'm thinking about video scripts or like how I'm going to present certain things in my clients' videos or whatever. And it's exciting to know that the work keeps coming in because it means I'm doing something right. So like, oh, IGN wants me to do this Animal Crossing video. IGN wants me. I must be doing something right. Arlo's contacting me because he wants this video up by Friday because he believes I can get it done by Friday. So I look at it that way. And the fact that this dry erase board is constantly full would be overwhelming to most people. But to me, it's very validating to be like, I have all this stuff. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get through all that stuff, but I know that eventually all of the stuff will have been gotten through. And then there'll be new stuff on here. And it will never be empty. And that's both a blessing and a curse. And that just kind of becomes my life as I just kind of force myself to work on these things regardless of how tired I am, and anything else that needs to happen goes around my work.
The amount of times that has happened though, where I'll be like hanging out with friends, for example, or just doing anything that's not YouTube, and then the thought will just keep creeping into my mind of like, I should be working on videos right now. It's so like, at least for me, I feel like whenever I let those thoughts really creep in a lot, I would end up getting burnt out. So I'm so fascinated hearing, like, it sounds like in your case, you successfully are kind of able to balance it, which is good. Like, I don't know, I've definitely in the past, I've had trouble with that.
I think it's because I like my clients.
I find it, I find it crazy that even with all this editing stuff, you still have your main job, retail. So it's genuinely so impressive.
Well, I don't want to do retail forever, but it is a nice job. Yeah, it is a nice job. I don't want to forfeit it. Retail is not like, ideally 10 years from now, I'd love to make my next step into the video editing space and not keep doing retail. But if that's what it comes down to, like, I need retail as my financial cushion, as my backup. And I'm thankful.
You have to be able to pay the bills at the end of the day.
Yes, and I'm glad that I have a retail job that I like. So I would like to keep this one. The other drive that I have, so in my apartment, it's just me living here. It's not a super big apartment. It's just a little studio apartment. But in my apartment, right by the door, I have a collection of photos that I have hung up on the wall. And it's kind of just highlights from my life. Cool stuff that I've gotten to do over the years. So like the time I was on Wipeout, the time I basically got Universal Studios to myself, the time I got to go to the red carpet premiere for the movie Knives Out, the time I got to stay at the Maracukuro Hotel. Like, I've got all these really cool things I've done in my life, and I hang them there to remind myself that the goal is to get to the next cool thing. And do I believe that editing for these clients and doing my YouTube work will allow me to get to the next cool thing? Yes. So let's keep going. And I think it does really come down to that I have cool clients. That I know beggars can't be choosers. I still got to basically choose my clients. I'm glad I get to edit for Arlo and Dude, because there were times when, I was doing 1 or 2 videos for clients that I didn't really enjoy that I was doing, so I just stopped working for them and let someone else fill that slot. But thankfully, the people I edit for are very cool. We got very good synergy with each other. And I think the fact that I have so many ideas that I want to do and so many videos that I want to make is just a major driving factor. And I do think working the retail job sometimes does slow me down because I'm like, I wish I'd rather be home editing. I also acknowledge that I think the time away, because it kind of reignites that fire, that's how I don't have the burnout. Versus just letting the fire burn, that's probably what causes the burnout, right? And there are days where I will just be at the computer and I will just edit all day, and then all of a sudden I look out the window, I'm like, oh my god, it's 2 a.m. Okay, I better sleep now, right? And that's crazy to me that I can work on a video all day and it's not done. And at the same time, I think that's so cool that I get to do that. I don't know. I think the work-life balance is crazy, but it's the only way it works, is if I am constantly working all the time, so that way I still have the passion to want to edit when I get home.
I love like the subtle flex of like, you know, like that's like whenever I was on the red carpet for the Knives Out premiere, I was like, oh, okay, oh, whoa.
Yeah, I kept saying, what? You went to the Marvel.
I can get into all of those, dude. I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I'm grateful, and I have pictures of all those to remind myself, like, I'm okay. Like, I chose this lifestyle and it's worked out for me so far, so I should like stay the course, right? So ideally, I'll have another photo to add to that wall someday.
I think we've hit all of my questions as well, and we are at 1 hour and 11 minutes. This is a very hearty podcast, but we have reached the end. Yeah. Yoshiller, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Where can the people find you and your work? Despite, well, we know where we can find you, but more specifically, where can we find you?
Sure,
Words came out of my mouth.
The way you just said, okay, I don't mean where can people find you, but where can people find you?
Give me your address and...
Where can people find you? Oh, like, you want my street? Let me see. Well, I said Seattle. Hi, my name is Yoshiller. Obviously, you can find the edits that I do for a variety of different clients. My own YouTube channel is just Yoshiller. So it's youtube.com/Yoshiller. I'm on Blue Sky. And if you ever see a guy with a Yoshi hat at a convention, that's most likely me. I sometimes wear a blue Yoshi hat now because now there are other people that wear green Yoshi hats. So I now wear a blue Yoshi hat to sometimes stand out.
Mr. Dean.
Yes.
What about you?
Oh, okay. I was waiting for the what about you. Yes, so my name is MrDean44. You can find me on YouTube. I do reviews, retrospectives, rankings, all sorts of fun stuff. By the way, this happened since the last episode, since we didn't do anything for last week, but I finally hit 1,000 subscribers, which is hype.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that happened. MrDean44 on YouTube. I was about to say you can also find me on the Special Hour podcast, as if we aren't literally talking on. Okay. Anyway,
gee, what is that?
I am on Twitter and Blue Sky, so you can find me on either of those. And then I also have a Discord server called the Dean Kingdom. Donovan, where can the people find you on the internet?
If you liked me yapping, I'm on DonovanDud on YouTube and making some reviews of video games. I promise you, I'm working on that Metroid video. I'm also on my Discord server, the Nintendo Boys. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram and but.
Yoshiller, just
bye.
Yeah.
Bye, humans. Whoosh.